Hey guys, still up here in North Carolina, and I just realized something. I ran to the store for a few things, and if you're worried about the price of eggs, you should really move to North Carolina. I mean, going 10 minutes, I must have passed 4 or 5 farms selling eggs, $5 a dozen, free range in eggs. I think I even seen one that the sign said $4 a dozen, unlimited. So if you're interested in moving, go to realestateforlife.org. Tell them Blue Collar Catholic sent you. So today, I want to discuss a big mistake that Vladimir Zelensky made that a lot of people are missing, and why this big mistake matters to Christians. But first, I just need to address a few things that whenever I talk politics on this channel always comes up. People will be like, oh, I tuned into you about all your Catholic stuff, and now you're talking politics. Well, I've had this channel, I don't know, 8-9 years now, and I've always talked politics because I believe as Catholic Christians, we should be informed, and it's our duty to vote. And, we need to let the church form our conscience and vote accordingly. And there's certain things that are intrinsically evil, like abortion. Abortion can never be good. It's always evil. This is what the church teaches, but the church also teaches that there's prudential, I forget the word, prudential. You can make a prudent decision using our faith and our reason. So like something like immigration is neither good or bad, but if you have a really bad immigration policy like Saudi Arabia, where they literally killed a bunch of Sudanese that were escaping war, that were literally refugees, not just coming for a better life, but they would have been killed if they stayed in Sudan, and Saudi Arabia just shot them, killed them all. That's evil. That's evil immigration policy. But if you have an immigration policy that says, well, the president of the United States wants to protect his citizens, so we want to have a legal system of migration, and we'll hear people claim asylum, but we're not just going to let them come across the border unvetted, and we're going to stop what Joe Biden did, actually sending planes to Nicaragua and Venezuela to fly these illegal immigrants into swing states. And just think about it, these swing states, whoever wins the presidency has to win the swing states, and they only win them by tens of thousands of people. So they were flying in hundreds of thousands of people in the swing state. And Nancy Pelosi said the reason they were doing it was because they were eventually going to become citizens. So that's evil. That's not right. So we can debate that. So I just wanted to lay that out there. Another thing, you always hear people say, oh, you worship Trump. You're a sycophant. Well, a sycophant, is like the guy who tells the naked king that his clothes look beautiful because they want the praises from the king. I don't know Donald Trump. He doesn't know me. I would bet $1 million he'll never watch one of my videos as long as he lives. So I can't fit that definition of the sycophant. And as far as worshiping him, I've never said that he was this great Christian man, but I will say he was the greatest president in my lifetime. We hire him, Americans, and a lot of foreign countries, you don't realize, we hire our president by voting for him. And he's the best hire that I've seen for Christians. He might not be the best Christian. He might not even be a Christian. I don't even know. I don't know his relationship with God. But he's the best president for Christians because he protects our religious rights. He protects our freedom of speech. He's done more for the unborn than any president. George Bush talked a much better game. He was a born-again Christian, he claimed, and he talked this big pro-life game. But he appointed a woman to the Supreme Court that was openly pro-abortion. And luckily, the Republicans voted against her. What's her name? Harriet Myers, I think. It's been a while. So today, I just want to get that away because I know I always get all these comments. Oh, you worship Trump. No. That's like when I say nice things about the Pope, people are like, oh, you worship the Pope. No, I don't worship the Pope. I think he's a good Pope. I don't worship him, you know. To me, it sounds as silly as saying when Protestants accuse us of worshiping statues. I've been a Catholic a long time now, and I've never met a Catholic that worships a statue. I've been in politics, you know, involved and paying attention and commenting on it my whole life. I've never met one person that worshipped a political figure. I don't know anybody that worships Trump. I know a lot of Christians that like him and voted for him, but they don't worship him and they don't think he's perfect. So with that out of the way, before I get to the big mistake that Zelensky made the other day when he had his meeting with J.D. Vance and President Trump, the day after, Democrat Congressman Eric Swalwell, if you don't remember him, he was the guy that was sleeping with the Chinese spy, Fang Fang. Really bad guy, really bad guy. But Eric Swalwell, speaking to CNN, the CNN reporter said, why wouldn't Zelensky want to sign a peace deal? And he's like, we had 3 years of this war where the Ukraine army decimated the Russian army. And it didn't cost us one soldier. That's a great return on our investment. Like, it's a great investment. It's a great return on our investment. How can you even come up with a return? Because it's infinite. It didn't cost us nothing. And this is the problem. As Christians, we realize it cost Ukraine 500,000 soldiers' lives. These are sons. These are fathers. These are brothers. It cost the Russian army 800,000 souls. Again, these are sons. These are fathers. No matter what their political ideology is, they're made in the image and likeness of God. They are made in the image of God. These souls are sacred. We shouldn't be looking at them like Eric Swalwell and the Democrats are looking at them as like a commodity, you know, trying to win, you know, beat the Russians. So this is the problem. And the big mistake that Zelensky made, Zelensky went on a different news program right after the meeting, and he said before he met with Trump and J.D. Vance, he had agreed with Marco Rubio a couple days prior, to sign this mineral deal. And then he met like a half hour before he had that meeting with Trump that everybody's seen, with the leaders of the Democrat Party, Chuck Schumer and all these Democrats. And they told him, do not sign the mineral deal. Do not sign the peace agreement. And they gave him talking points. That was his big mistake, to get political. Number one, don't get involved with American politics if you're not in America. That's number one. Number two, you pick the losing side. You pick the losing side. I mean, and a lot of my international subscribers, they listen to the media and they think Trump is this horrible guy. But if you watched his speech last night, you've seen common sense approaches that every American supports. The polls are like 80% of the people thought that speech was positive. So this is including Democrats, Independents, and Republicans. And you've seen the Democrats dishonor a 13-year-old boy. Everybody, they wouldn't clap for nothing. A 13-year-old boy who was a cancer survivor, wanted to be a police officer. Trump did something really nice. He made him an honorary Secret Service guy. The guy gave him a Secret Service badge. And he hugged. It was such a touching moment. It got me choked up. He hugged the Secret Service guy. And you see the Secret Service guy hugging him tight and getting emotional himself. These are tough-hearted guys, these Secret Service guys. But he felt the gravity of the moment. And the Democrats couldn't even clap for that. They stood there with their signs, lies, lies. And again, an American teacher who the Russians threw into a prison and was going to keep him 14 years in a prison in Russia, Trump got him out. And Trump talked about his 95-year-old mother, and everybody stood and clapped for her. Democrats wouldn't even stand and clap for her. So if you're an international subscriber, This is the Democrat Party. And the media that you listen to in America, they're all Democrats. They say it themselves. 98% of them in every poll say they're Democrats that have never voted for Republicans. So if you're listening to the American media, you're getting your opinion of Trump, watch that speech. That's the American media. They have no respect. They have no honor. They're disgraceful. So how did this all start? I'm going to show you some really, I want to share some things with you you may not have heard. Maybe you have, but I think it's important to share. As Christians, we know there's good and there's evil, and God uses some people for good, and He allows others to do evil. And you reap what you sow. They may get away with it here, but in the next life they won't. He gives us a free will. So when Ronald Reagan was running for president, Caspar Weinberger, his Secretary of Defense, said, how are you going to what is your plan to contain the Soviet Union? He said, I don't have a plan to contain the Soviet Union. My plan is to defeat the Soviet Union. Caspar Weinberger, being a longtime Washington, D.C. guy, said he's never heard a president, never heard anybody with that. He's like, how are we going to defeat him? He said, peace through strength. He said, our technology is 20, 30 years ahead of the Russians, the Soviets? And he said, yes. He said, so for every dollar we spent building up our military, they got to spend 2 or 3. He goes, yeah. He goes, we'll break them financially. And sure enough, by the end of Reagan's presidency, they were so broke financially. A couple years later, under George Bush Sr., the Soviet Union crumbled. But what a lot of people don't realize is the media made Reagan look as bad as they try to make Trump. They said he was going to bring us to World War III. He was a buffoon. He was evil. He was racist. He was a misogynist. Everything they say about Trump, the American media said about Reagan. So, after Ukraine was finally free from 70 years of being enslaved by the Soviets, Ukraine was free. But they had all the Soviets' missiles, nuclears. They were the 3rd largest nuclear power in the world. So after Bush comes Bill Clinton, a Democrat. So the Republicans broke the Soviet Union. Bill Clinton, a Democrat, comes in, has a meeting with the president of Ukraine at the time, also the prime minister of the UK, and the dictator of Russia at the time, and says, it's dangerous to have 3 nuclear powers. We really need you to just dismantle all these nukes. The less nukes in the world, the safer the world will be. And we'll guarantee your safety. Russia, Great Britain, and America signed a treaty saying we will protect you from anybody invading you if you get rid of these nukes. So they got rid of the nukes. So then when Barack Obama became president a few years later, we heard him on a hot mic. We weren't supposed to hear him. They didn't realize the mic was on. And he was talking to President Medvedev of Russia. And Medvedev said, Vladimir is really upset that you're going to put these these missile defense systems in Europe. I think he was going to put them in Poland. It would have protected Ukraine and Poland, if I'm not mistaken. But he was heard on a hot mic. And if this was Trump, they would have impeached him. But because it was Obama, nobody really talked about it much. He said, tell Vlad I'm in the middle of an election. After the election, I have much more wiggle room. So what did he do after he was reelected? He canceled these defense systems. And then what did Vlad do? He invaded Ukraine and took Crimea. And what did Obama do? He let him take it. And the Ukraine president begged him for javelins, like these anti-tank missiles. And Obama said, no, we'll send you guys blankets to keep your soldiers warm that are getting shot at. Honest, this is a true story. This is true. So then the plan was to take the rest of Ukraine when Hillary wins, because, the elites thought Hillary would win. Well, Trump surprised the world and he won. And he told Vladimir Putin, if you invade Ukraine, I will drop a bomb on Moscow. And then not only did he give the javelins that they wanted, he sent 1,000 Green Beret soldiers into Ukraine to train the Ukraine army. That's why the Ukraine army is superior to the Russian army, because they were trained by the best soldiers in the world. United States Army Green Berets, 1,000 of them. This is why they're outnumbered, but they kill a lot more than the Russians kill. They're better trained soldiers. So then, 4 years, never invaded Ukraine under Trump, because they were afraid of Trump. And then Trump was like, wait a minute, you Germans have us protecting you from Russia, but you're buying Russian oil and Russian natural gas. This doesn't make sense. You're giving them more money than we're giving, as much money we're giving you, you're giving them. So you can just protect yourself. And we're shutting down you better shut down that pipeline. And he got that pipeline shut down. And he opened our pipeline up that would have made us more energy independent that Obama had shut down. And, speculation is what brings prices down. Everybody's speculating the way Trump was opening pipelines and drilling, the price of oil was going to come down, and the price did come down. So now Russia really didn't even have even if they wanted to disrespect Trump and invade, they didn't even have the money. Well, Biden comes in and he says, no, open up that Nord Stream pipeline. Let them buy as much oil and natural gas they want from Russia. We'll shut down our pipeline. He shuts down our pipeline, opens their pipeline, and Germany is dependent on Russia's oil because the German Green Party, which was funded by the communist Russians, pushed for the Green New Deal. So they got rid of all their coal plants. They got rid of all their nuclear plants. They got rid of all their fossil fuels. So now they are dependent on Russia. And so when I seen Russia putting 100,000 troops on the border 3 years ago, I was like, they're getting ready to invade. Why is Biden letting them? It was obvious Biden was letting them invade. And he kept saying, don't, or I'm going to put sanctions on you. And then when he was asked by this guy in the media, well, what if they invade? Would you send weapons? He said, well, if they just took a little bit of land, I probably wouldn't. But if they go for, a lot of land, we'll have to. It was like, what? It's okay to invade a little bit, but not. It was bizarre. And I was like, why is he allowing them to invade? I seen it coming. Everybody's seen it coming like a month in advance. Like if you really wanted to stop them, you would have hit the sanctions way before they got to the border. When you seen them marching, the sanctions would have been on. No one could buy your oil. Instead, he waits for them to invade. Then he puts these sanctions, but with exemptions that Germany can still buy oil from the Russians. They're buying more oil from the Russians than we're giving them to fight the war. So they're giving more money to the Russians to fight the war than they're getting from America and Europe to fight the war. This is bizarre. It's like they're allowing them. And then a month after the invasion, Zelensky and Putin were going to sit down for a peace agreement. They had everything worked out. And Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister of the UK, of Britain at the time, says that he was told by Joe Biden to go there and tell him not to sign, tell Zelensky, don't sign the deal. We don't want peace. We don't want the killing to stop. We want regime change. We want to beat Russia. These guys want to have war with a nuclear power. They're like, these guys are crazy. They're madmen. They think they're not worried. They don't care about all these people dying. Eric Swalwell said it was a great return on investment, but they're not worried about a nuclear war. I mean, these people are madmen. So that was 3 years ago. And I wondered, why did they allow that? Well, there's two reasons. Number one, they think it's a good strategy. Maybe 500,000 Ukrainians get killed, 800,000 Russians get killed, but the Russians are weakened. But there's not just that. There's also grift. You see, Liz Cheney and Dick Cheney made millions on the Iraq war with Halliburton. They had a lot of money invested in the Iraq war, rebuilding. Joe Biden's brother, Jim Biden, made like $20 million on the Iraq war, rebuilding. He became a builder, which he had no expertise, no experience, no reason that anybody would want the government should go to him other than he was then Vice President Joe Biden's brother. So it's grift. This is legal grift. This is what we call legal corruption. But then there's illegal corruption. Now, Congress told us their investigation into the Biden family, there were 10 shell companies. There was money going into these shell companies. And if you don't know what a shell company is, the Italian mafia in America, they all have shell companies because they get their money illegally and they put them in these companies, but these companies do nothing. The FBI knows these are just fronts for their illegal activities. Gangsters have this. The cartels have this. Also, Joe Biden had 10 shell companies. And they went to his brothers and sisters and even some of his minor grandchildren. And check this out. There's $100 billion unaccounted for that went to Ukraine. We gave them about $300 billion, and they cannot account for $100 billion. Perhaps this is the reason Joe Biden pardoned all his brothers and sisters, like 10 of his family members, all the way going back to 2014. They can't be charged with anything. Why would he pardon them for crimes that they weren't found doing? Because he knows that Trump's FBI is going to find it. So maybe part of that $100 billion missing went to the Biden family, and maybe they threw Zelensky some. I don't know. And now Zelensky is aligned with the Democrats because they got him caught up in their corruption. Now, it is true, Vladimir Putin is a gangster. Marco Rubio said it best. He's a thug and he runs Russia like a gangster. He's an evil man. They invaded Ukraine. And they took tens of thousands of little children, kidnapped them, and they're raising them as Russians. This is evil. This guy is evil. This is true. But when Marco Rubio met with Zelensky, he said, listen, this is the plan. We can't be, arguing with Russia about who's right and who's wrong. We're not going to get to an agreement. We got to do it piece by piece. First, we're willing to invest American money and American men and labor into Ukraine to mine for your minerals. There's about $10 trillion worth of minerals. And we'll split it 50-50. So you can, and this is your way of paying back the hardworking blue collar guys that have been paying for your war with their tax dollars. But more importantly than that, Russia will see now America's got a vested interest in Ukraine. Now they're our partners. So you mess with our partners, you're messing with us. This is a huge statement to Russia. It's a huge motivation for Russia to want peace. And Vladimir Zelensky agreed to it with Marco Rubio. Then a couple days later, he came out, he said he didn't agree to it, and he started bashing Trump. So, Trump went back at him and said, well, he's a dictator, and he should have never started this war. So, he's not a dictator. He didn't start the war. He didn't say they invaded Ukraine. He said he started it. And what he meant by this was everybody's seen it was coming. And they, I believe he means Biden and the whole cabal in Europe and Zelensky, they allowed it because they wanted to, like Eric Swalwell said, it was a great return on their investment. And the money, the financial grift that they would make out of this war, because all the wars in the Middle East were ending. And another reason Vladimir Putin felt emboldened to invade Ukraine was because he's seen how we left Americans behind Afghanistan. 13 Americans were killed. And Biden did nothing about it. For the first time in American history, we left Americans behind. Our soldiers pulled out before the civilians. We left 1,000 civilians behind. The only way they got out was by private contractors, retired SEALs, retired Green Berets. They went and rescued these guys. The Biden administration didn't help. So Vladimir was like, these guys, he don't even care about Americans. He ain't going to care about Ukrainians dying. So that was another reason he was emboldened. But Zelensky, like I said, he started bad-mouthing Trump, and Trump said, you should have never started this war. In other words, this war would have never started if Trump was president. And dictator, if you look at the technical definition of a dictator, is someone that don't allow elections. Vladimir Zelensky suspended all elections for the past 3 years. And his excuse is because it's wartime. America has never suspended an election. America had elections during World War II, World War I, Korean War, Vietnam, even the Civil War. Even the Civil War, we had elections because we are not run by a dictator. Vladimir Zelensky shut down hundreds of churches, hundreds of Orthodox churches because they were affiliated, they were Russian Orthodox. But in a free country, you don't shut down churches. You don't shut down churches. So that was the point he was making. So the big mistake Vladimir Zelensky made was making a deal with the devil. You make a deal with the devil and you always get burned. So he thought he's getting his advice from the Democrats, put pressure on Trump in front of the media, and Trump will give him more of what he wants. And Trump is saying, listen, I know this guy Vlad. If I start name calling him and tell him everything he's wrong, he's not going to come to the table. We're going to come to the table and we're going to give you each a carrot. So what could the carrot be for Russia? Well, we'll take off all the sanctions. We'll let you sell oil. We want to bring the price of oil down. So more oil in the world, the better for everybody. And it'll be less per barrel. So Russia won't be getting as rich. But it'll be an incentive for them to drill more and to make more oil and make more money. And again, bringing the price of oil down. And, you know, he took Crimea, I think, in 2014 under Obama. So he's probably going to have to let him keep that. He took it under Biden. I mean, he took it under Obama. They had it. So probably not getting that back. I mean, this is, I'm not saying it's fair, but this is what it is. The most important thing is, as Christians, we want peace. This war has to stop. And the Democrats want to keep it going because they want to see regime change in Russia, and they're getting the grift. But Vladimir Putin doesn't care about his men dying. He doesn't care. He's got the Chinese, they have a 1 million-man army. They'll start sending guys over to get killed. They don't care. This war will go on forever. It'll be another endless war. And this is what the Democrats want, an endless war. You know, Dwight D. Eisenhower, who was a great general in World War II, said, we got to be wary of the military-industrial complex. We got to keep them in check because there's a lot of money to be made by war. And this is why they hate Trump, because Trump don't need any more money. He's disrupting their grift. He's making everybody's life miserable because they're used to getting all this money from the military-industrial complex, and a lot of it's legal. It's these military guys lobbying, giving money to their campaigns. A lot of these people have their family members in businesses that make stuff for the war. And then you got the grift, the 10 shell companies that the Bidens had. And I'm sure there's many other stuff that, you know, that we don't even know about. So Zelensky made a bad deal with the Democrats. Like I said, he went right before he talked to Trump. When he went to Trump, it was supposed to be a nice meeting where they signed a mineral agreement deal. Trump said nice things about the Ukraine people. It was a nice positive. If you watch the beginning of it, it was a nice positive. And then Zelensky just started saying stuff, you know, just kind of disrespecting our president. Came to our country, came to our White House. You know, you don't come to my house and disrespect me. This is the American way, you know. Toby Keith had a song about that. He said, we'll put a boot in your blank because it's the American way. And, you know, the world wasn't used to a strong president after 4 years of Biden. And you've seen a strong president. He wasn't going to take it. He wasn't going to get disrespected in our White House. You see, in America, he works for us, and the White House belongs to us. He just lives there while he's president for 4 years. And so most people are on the side of President Trump in America. And like I said, I got some international subscribers that are hearing all the lies from the American media. Don't believe it. Most Christians, Catholic Christians and Protestant Christians, voted for Trump because they see through the lies. They see a man who wants peace. They see a man who did more for the pro-life movement than any president in our lifetime. They see a man who said the official stance of the United States government is there's two genders, male and female. And males cannot play in female sports or go in females' locker rooms. And minors cannot get sex change operations. This is why the left hates them. This is why the left hates them. like I said, there's good and evil. So, so just do me a favor, subscribe, because whenever, it's funny because whenever I say nice things about Trump, I lose subscribers. Whenever I say nice things about the Pope, I lose subscribers. And people can't figure me out. They're like, you love Pope Francis and you love Donald Trump. That's weird. Well, because I believe they both have the same goals for America. They just have different methods and different ways they would do it. And, different personalities. Pope Francis is a holy man of God. Donald Trump is a tough businessman. But he's a tough businessman who has common sense and decency, in my humble opinion. So do me a favor, subscribe. I just got over 19,000 subscribers. I made a nice video about Pope Francis. I lost a dozen, so I went under 19,000. Then the next morning, I made another nice video about the Pope. I lost like another 20. And I'm slowly getting up. So I think I need like 4 more subscribers to get back to 19,000. But after I talk nice about Trump, I'll probably lose more. So, obviously I don't do this for the views, but the more subscribers I get, the more interesting guests we can get on here. This is our thing, This isn't just me. I'm the one that does the talking, but you guys give me the ideas in the comments and the emails. A lot of times I'm answering questions in a video that I got in a comment, or somebody enlightened me and said, no, you were wrong about this, Rob, and I come back and correct it. I know I could be wrong, for some reason, I like to talk. a lot of guys I know don't like to talk. So, give me something to talk about. Most of what I'm saying is I'm just repeating what the saints have said for 2,000 years, or great apologists have said 10 years ago, 20 years ago. And I'm just putting it into my own words that, the average guy in the pew, the ragamuffin like me, we're just ragamuffins, we're nothing special, but God thought we were worth the blood of his son. So I guess it is something special. So God bless, stay Catholic, and I pray that you have a sorrowful Lent so you can have a spectacularly joyous Easter. God bless and stay Catholic.